Banking and finance vocabulary. ATM. Example, ATM skimming on the rise, experts offer tips to protect yourself. Accounts payable. Example, accounts payable of Apple Inc., Nasdaq, AAPL, at $37,294 million, accounts receivable. Example, Avon's financial future could get ugly, it needs a facelift, amortization. Example, private bank ignores new amortization payment for $200 million Eurobonds. Arbitrage. Example, profit arbitrage potential in a closed-end fund merger. Asset. Example, solid asset appreciation boosts household net worth in Q4, bankruptcy. Example, Payless said to close up to 500 stores in bankruptcy reorganization, bid. Example, Snap stock climbs as analysts bid it up with a second buy rating, bond. Example, the bond market is no longer convinced Trump can spark an economic boom. Borrow. Example, you can now borrow shares to be broke. Example, dump burns for same reason the country is broke, broker. Example, online broker price wars will slash earnings, cash basis. Example, budget 2017, cash basis accounting threshold up to £150,000 to close down. Example, pro-Trump Chicago couple forced to close down music store, commodity. Example, slow and steady the best mix for commodity and value-added dairy prices. Currency. Example, why nobody trusts the world's best currency. Debt. Example, Russia agrees to repay Soviet-era debt to Bosnia, deposit. Example, UBS charges customers to deposit euros. Depreciation. Example, Bank of England Deputy Governor says sterling depreciation could boost British business investment. Dividend. Example, 5 dividend stocks expected to increase distributions in 2019. Equity. Example, long-term investments must be in equity to beat inflation, to file for bankruptcy. Example, Westinghouse may file for bankruptcy to help save Toshiba, gross domestic product, or GDP. Example, Australia Q4 GDP gains at 2.4% annual pace. Interest. Example, Federal Reserve interest hike a mixed bag. To invest. Example, where to invest with increasing interest rates. Investor. Example, Starbucks investor booed for challenging CEO's pledge to hire 10,000 refugees. Invoice. Example, 6 major things you need to know about an invoice. Leverage. Example, less debt. Less leverage. It's practically un-American, liability. Example, fighting the scourge of fraud through credit and debit cards. Loan. Example, watch out for this 16% student loan fee. Market. Example, Kramer, if you want to make money, go against what the market says. Merger. Example, UBS, Sprint and T-Mobile merger is likely. Overdraft. Example, banks made billions in sneaky overdraft fees last year, profits. Example, Next shares soar despite first drop in profits for 8 years, receipt. Example, mozzarella sticks receipt went viral for hilarious reason. Return. Example, my investment had a good rate of return. Risk. Example, debt piles add to risk for China's property groups. Savings. Example, gig workers falling behind on retirement savings. Stock exchange. Example, Eddie Stobart announces plans to float on London Stock Exchange. Stockbroker. Example, stockbroker is sentenced to 6 months imprisonment for insider trading. Stockholder. Example, Workday announces annual stockholder meeting. To take over. Example, fears over job losses as car giant Peugeot strikes a deal to take over Vauxhall. Turnover. Example, Shayla sees turnover break the £100 million barrier. Withdrawal. Example, all cash withdrawal limits removed by RBI. Yield. Example, 4 best high-yield bond mutual funds for your portfolio. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe.